I wonder, can love help us start and maintain our alcohol-free life? Hmm. Welcome to Sobriety Snippets for Women Over 40, where we help you become the woman who no longer needs alcohol to cope. I'm Becca Jacobson. Welcome back to Snippet Land, gals. And if you're new here in Snippet Land, welcome home, my dear. This is your place if you're a 40-plus woman who's done pretending wine isn't a problem and are quietly craving real freedom. That's what we do here. And this week in Snippet Land, we've been exploring the thinking of Ralph Waldo Trine in his 1897 book, In Tune with the Infinite. It's been quite a beautiful journey, but I'll tell you what, gals, we are not finished. There's a lot more that he has to share with us, so we're going to spill into next week on this, but that's okay. I'm totally fine with that because we're not reading the book per se, and we're not studying the book per se. What I like to do in the Becca's Bookshelf segments here on the snippets is pull relevant ideas out of timeless classics and help us apply them in our lives and compare them to others' thinking and compare them to more current scientific approaches. It's really interesting stuff. So we're going to keep looking at Trine next week because he has a lot more to share with us. But for today, we are on chapter 4, and it is about love. It's about love. The chapter is called The Secret Power and Effects of Love. So, gals, I don't know if you've noticed this, but here in Snippet Land, I toss the word love around a lot. But you know what? I don't toss it around lightly. When I tell you I'm sending you buckets of love, I actually send love to you from my heart to yours. And part of my meditation practice is just warming up the heart center, feeling, you can bring on the feeling of love. You don't have to wait for it to appear. You can create it through intention, with intention. And so when I think of you gals and I think about Snippet Land and the work here that I've had the unbelievable privilege of doing, I intentionally send you love. And I see myself sitting in where I am in the world, and then I visualize the globe and my heart just putting a big ball of love around the whole globe. So it's going to cover all of you. Now, is that nonsense? No, it isn't nonsense. I know that love is a real force, but I want you to know something about this. This is new for me. So I have only been sober, I guess, since 2018. And the first couple of years were a mess, a mess. So really 6 solid years would be more accurate since we're in 2026. And in those 6 years, I have learned about love. When I came into sobriety, gals, because of my past, I guess, or whatever, it doesn't matter where it came from, I had a really cynical attitude towards love, especially between men and women. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I was 13 years a prostitute. You don't come out of that type of work feeling particularly romantic about men and women. When your clients are married, for example, and you know that they have wives at home, it's not an easy environment to grow a healthy relationship with love. And so coming out of that, of course, that ended many, many years ago, but I just never really healed around love, even though I feel love. I'm not saying I don't feel love, but when people talk about send love to everyone, I just sort of sneer. It's like, whatever, so roll the old eyeballs, right? Whatever, I don't get that. Well, that was me 5 years ago. Now I know that love is a force, and it's not what I thought it was. And so I'd like to ask you today to just have a little bit of an open mind. I think most women are fine. I haven't heard other women really speak like this, but if something in you is going, yeah, I know what she means, then I hope that maybe this will help you open the heart a little bit, because we really can learn that love is not really what we think it is. Yes, our parents and our sibs, our family, right? And our spouses, we feel quite comfortable telling them we love them, most of us. But when we try to broaden that out into friendship is a little bit easier, but as it gets broader and broader, it gets harder and harder to love everybody. And, when someone says, send love to everybody, it can be trying. especially if they're difficult people. And you can look at them and you're like, we don't want to exactly even give them the time of day, let alone love. Well, right? Okay, well, there it is. At least I'm being honest about it. But I really have learned that love is a force. And in this short, powerful chapter, Ralph Waldo Trine talks about love in a way that is really excited to share with you. So he opens the book. Oh, well, let's just remind ourselves. Remember that his premise throughout the whole book is actually in the title, In Tune with the Infinite. So his premise, all the different topics he talks about, like last chapter was about the physical body, and all of the topics all come back to that idea that if you're in tune with your higher self or God or the infinite or whatever you want to call it, the more we are in tune with that force, the more rich and fulfilling and healthy our lives will be. And so love, let's see what he says about love. He opens this chapter like this. This is the spirit of infinite love. The moment we recognize ourselves as one with it, we become so filled with love that we see only the good in all. And when we realize that we are all one with this infinite spirit, then we realize that in a sense, we are all one with each other. Now, we hear this, we hear it in certain places. I think I heard it in Sunday school. But how do you live that? And how do you really feel that? And what does that really mean? Well, I think what Trine is saying here is that since we're all interconnected through the infinite or God, through this source, remember the metaphor we used on Monday was the ocean, right? We're all a part of the greater ocean of energy, and we're just a smaller piece of it, right? Well, when we're all interconnected, whatever we send out into that energy, into that field, is felt by others. And not only that, remember we talked on Wednesday about cause and effect? Right. So what we send out comes back to us. Whatever we send out will come back to us. So if for no other reason, gals, to send out love, that's a good one. Because when we send out hatred, oh boy, it's a boomerang. It's a boomerang. So speaking of sending hatred or anger, here is what Trine says. There is a deep scientific fact underlying the great truth, he that takes the sword shall perish by the sword. When we understand the effects of the passions, hatred or anger, or even upon the physical body, we can see how detrimental, how expensive this is. The same is true in regard to all kindred thoughts or passions, envy, criticism, jealousy, scorn. In the ultimate, we shall find that in entertaining feelings of this nature towards another, we always suffer far more than the one towards whom we entertain them. Again, there's that antiquated English. He's just saying, gals, what I just said. When we send out hatred or anger or criticism or envy, we suffer more than the person we're sending it to. And I tell you, I found this kind of hard to believe, but in practicing it, and that's all I do is I just practice. I'm not over here Miss Perfect, right? I'm not a saint yet. I'll let you know when I become a saint. We'll have a celebration here on the Snippets. Hallelujah, Becca is now a saint. I'll let you know. So don't worry about it. When that happens, I'll fill you in. In the meantime, I'm just practicing, just like all of us, right? And the more I practice this idea of love and sending love out to others, the more it changes my life. And I have a perfect story for you about this. I couldn't have asked for a better moment in time for this to happen. As you know, I'm sure you know by now, I walk my dogs pretty much every day. I go hiking with my dogs. And in fact, I record many of those hikes. On my hike, day before yesterday, I came across this woman who has 4 dogs. I have 2 little dogs. 4 big dogs, and every time I meet up with her on the trail, her dogs try to attack my dogs. And it is terrifying. Gals, this was so horrifying. When I saw her dogs coming, I reached down, I pick up my black dog because I know she's the one in the most danger, because I know she'll try and fight back, and then she'll just get mutilated. The other little dog I know will run like hell, so he's relatively safe. But I mean, come on, I'm standing there and my dogs are under attack, literally. So I grab my black dog and I hold her to my chest, turn my back on this big, I think it's some kind of bull mastiff thing, this brindle dog, coming up, and I turn my back on it and just hug her to my chest, and he comes up behind me and bites my calf. So I didn't even know he bit me because at the time he was doing it, the same time the other dog was on my left, the other dog was on my. I was just surrounded by these dogs. It was horrible. Can you imagine? Then the woman arrives and she pulls her dogs off and takes them away. Well, I'm standing there panting, my dogs are shaking, and I realize my leg hurts and I look down and I've been bitten. I've got a bleeding dog bite on my leg. So I end up going to the hospital for a tetanus shot and some antibiotics. But here's the story, okay? Here's the reason for this story. I practice this stuff, right? And I teach this stuff. I started sending her hatred. I started sending her thoughts of, you bit, like, what the hell? Why don't you leash your dog? How dare she? Blah, 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 blah. This started going the whole way I was driving to the hospital. I had to go drop the dogs off with my husband and then take myself off to the hospital. By the way, the bite, they cleaned it up. It's fine. They don't do stitches. It's fine. It's going to heal and it's all okay. But more damage was done in the way it made me feel. And the whole drive, so it's a 40-minute drive to the hospital. And the whole way there, I was just getting madder and madder and thinking thoughts like her dog should be leashed. Why is she letting dangerous dogs run wild? Blah, blah, blah. Like all of this, how irresponsible she is, and on and on and on. And then on the way home from the hospital, I'm still doing this. And I suddenly it hit me. What am I doing? So when I got home, I took some quiet time and I sat down and I wrote in my journal. What I said was, I would like to figure out, because I really try not to speak to myself that way where you say, you got to do this. Don't speak to yourself that way because nobody likes to be told what to do. So I rephrase that, what I said to myself, hopefully. Remember, I'm not a saint yet. What I said was, I would like to find a way to change the way I'm thinking about this woman. And I knew it was going to be hard because I was mad. I felt it in my heart. I didn't feel any love for this woman at all. And so I pulled out my journal and I just wrote out what I wanted to feel. I want to find a way. I wrote it out. I want to find a way to visualize her with love, send love to her dogs, to her, and see the situation resolving in peace and not have to have this war going on with this woman. And after I wrote it down, it felt a little more doable. Like I say, that was the day before yesterday. I don't have this perfected, but when I think of her, it's different. I don't feel that same, oh, what the hell is she? And, when we feel we've been done wrong, we can hold on to it for a long time and carry it and carry it. And you know what, gals? It's not hurting her. It's not hurting her. She's not feeling my hatred. Well, there is a subtle sense of it, but not like I am. And the more I brew and stew on it, I'm the one who's suffering, okay? So that very long story by way of getting to what Trine is saying here, that whatever we send out will come back to us. Now, this, of course, works both ways. He says, quote, in the degree that we love, we will be loved. Thoughts are forces. Each creates of its kind. Each comes back laden with the effect that corresponds to itself and of which it is the cause. Again, that old language, he's simply saying what I just said. Thoughts are forces. When we send out thoughts of hatred or anger, it mars our own lives, our own hearts. And it's not easy, but it's worth it to take the effort to send love to someone who you really don't want to. I don't like this woman. I don't know her, and I don't intend on befriending her, but I don't need to send her hatred. Now, here's a story that I have to share with you. This is not my story. This is from Trine, and I'm going to read it. It's a tiny little paragraph. Here's what he tells us about a friend of his. I love this. Check this out. Quote, he says, I know of no better practice than that of a friend who continually holds himself in an attitude of mind that he continually sends out his love in the form of the thought, Dear everybody, I love you. I love that, gals. I want to put that on social media. Dear everybody, I love you. I want to plaster it everywhere. But is it real? Do we really feel it, or are we just saying it? Here's the thing. We can start saying it and the feeling behind it will grow. It certainly can't hurt to say the words. Try to grow the feeling with it. But if you have anyone in your life that you're holding resentment or anger towards, We must heal that, my dears. We must. And that is a huge part of my coaching program. Women who come and mentor with me, we heal those past wounds. We heal emotional wounds from the past in the form of trauma, resentments that we're holding, because if we carry emotional wounds in our energetic body, it ages us before our time. It drags us down. We get tired and wore out because we're packing around negative energy, and it hurts us more than anyone else. So our healing journey here in our alcohol-free life has to include intentional healing of the past. And if all you're intending to do is just put the cork in your wine bottle and never drink again, you're not going to experience the freedom that is available. You just won't experience it because everything else is the same. And that's, well, we may not like the phrase, but that's what we call a dry drunk. You're not drinking, but you're still full of hatred and resentment and anger and shame, right? We have to heal, gals. That's what we do here. It isn't about the alcohol. It is not about the alcohol. Trine continues by saying, every thought you entertain is a force that goes out, and every thought comes back laden with its kind. This is an immutable law. Every thought you entertain has, moreover, a direct effect upon your body. Look, when we're holding resentment and hatred, we're aging our own bodies. We're poisoning our own bloodstreams, right? However you want to put it. The nervous system is not nice and calm and peaceful when we're packing around hatred. It just isn't. So it's a choice, right? Quote from Trine, when you allow thoughts of anger, hatred, malice, jealousy, envy, criticism, or scorn to exercise sway, they have a corroding and poisoning effect upon the organism. They pull it down, and if allowed to continue, will eventually tear it to pieces by externalizing themselves in particular form of disease they give rise to. Now, he's talking 125 plus years ago, and have we proven this scientifically? He's being pretty specific. He says you're going to get a very particular form of disease depending on which type of negative emotion you're putting out there. So what he's implying is that anger will give you this disease, and hatred will give you that disease, and jealousy gives you a different. We don't know so much about that, but modern science has proven that negative emotions harm the body. It raises our blood pressure, affect the nervous system, and so on. We spoke about that earlier this week on Wednesday. And my story about the dog bears out here in the book when he talks about how to respond to somebody who's done something to you for no apparent reason. Here's what he says. But if hatred should come from another without apparent cause on your part, then meet it from first to last with thoughts of love and goodwill. In this way, you can, so to speak, neutralize its effects, that it cannot reach you and cannot harm you. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this woman in the dog bite. It's just a practice, gals. There's no perfection here. It's just a practice. And like I say, I just haven't quite got my halo on straight yet. And I was doing that. I was really ramping up the negativity towards this woman. And all it takes is a little willingness and intention to say, I don't want to feel this way. And it was easier to say than do, because in my heart, I didn't feel love for her. But it's just a practice. And that's all it is we try. We just try our best, and then we keep going, and we try our best the next moment. And then we try our best the next moment. That is what we do here. And we'll end this snippet with one last line from Trine. Near the end of the chapter, he says this: the truly wise man or woman will recognize no one as an enemy. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. The truly wise man or woman will recognize no one as an enemy. Now, that's getting pretty close to wearing the old halo, but we can try our best. We don't have to expect ourselves to be perfect, but a willingness to practice this, a willingness to just give it a whirl and just say to yourself, wait a second, just catch yourself, because you're going to just be you. But when we catch ourselves like I did, and we can just decide with intention, no, I'm going to do this a little different, see what it's like. Let me try this. And if you want help doing that, because it ain't easy, it is not an easy thing to do. This journey requires support. Come and join us in the Fresh Start experience. We meet every Friday evening, a small group of women just like you and I, and every woman in there is navigating the messiness of early sobriety. using the foundational strategies that I teach. Come and join us. The link is at beccajacobson.com/fresh start. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back next time so I can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.
The modern man is fascinating. He has a standing desk. He takes creatine. He listens to podcasts at 2 times the speed. He owns 3 water bottles, and he follows 6 productivity influencers. Then every weekend, he drinks enough alcohol to tranquilize a rhinoceros. If any of this sounds familiar, I'm Shane Raymer, host of That Sober Guy podcast. We talk performance, we talk purpose, we talk leadership, and we talk about building a better life without alcohol. Because the answer isn't another life hack. It's removing the thing that's holding you back. Search That Sober Guy wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.